Hi, parents, and welcome to another edition of Adoption Chat Corner. This is where we pull up to a nice cup of coffee or tea.
Exactly.
And talk about things that are relevant to you, that are on your mind, in a way that's a little bit more casual and relaxed, but are really trying to get to the bottom of what's going on in your world. Okay? So, I hope you have your cup of tea. We're tea drinkers, so hope you have your cup of tea or coffee with you. And we will get started with today's talk.
Let's go.
So, in today's talk, we are going to be talking about triggers. And it's actually one of 3 talks that we're going to have. And this one is going to talk about the times of the year, the seasons that can be a trigger for your adopted child. Things that you might not have thought about before, but are definitely putting that outside pressure on them that's building up and creating a trigger that could easily set something off like that.
That's right.
And the goal of all of these talks, as a reminder, is that they are designed for you as a parent to feel more empowered, to feel like you actually have more control over what's going on in your world, so that these tantrums and outbursts and meltdowns just don't happen as much as they need to. And they definitely don't need to take you by surprise and kind of sideswipe you so that you don't know how to handle it. This is a way for you to take back a little bit more of that control and feel like you're more confident in what you're doing. So that's what these talks are designed to do. And I'm hoping that that's what they are doing. All right.
Awesome.
So exactly. So today we are going to be talking about times of the year, seasons. Every year, no matter what, there are 4 seasons: winter, spring, summer, fall. And they are all happening, they all come, and they all go, and they all bring their own different set of, I would say, challenges with them, right? So, but, instead of going through all of them, we're just going to talk about a couple of them today.
So why not let's talk about the extremes.
Okay?
So in the 4 seasons that you just mentioned, I can think of 2 extremes.
Yep.
And that would be winter. That's an extreme.
Yep.
And then summer.
Summer, yep.
Very cold and sometimes very hot.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, we were talking about this earlier today. And the reason why we're going to start with winter is because at the time of this recording in 2026, we have had ourselves a very, how do we say, robust winter for a change.
Robust.
Yes, that I think would be the best way to describe it.
Very robust.
Yes, very cold, lots of snow.
Lots of snow.
Lots of snow to deal
Very
with.
cold.
Very cold.
Extremely robust.
Yes. So, in a nutshell, winter has been doing its job and has been doing it well.
Thank the Lord for that.
Yeah. So there we are. We are at the tail end, actually, of winter right now, and so, we're kind of coming out of it, and it does bring to mind, which is part of our discussion we had earlier, about the fact that winter actually, can have its nice things going on because, the summer is one thing, but the winter has the snow, and that could actually be fun to play with and play in and so on and so forth. So it's not all bad, but for a child, especially for an adoptive child, it can actually bring a different set of its own challenges, right? So we'll go over a few of them. There's a bunch potentially, but we're just going to go over a few. So ones that are kind of obvious are there's shorter days. There's less daylight, so the days are shorter. What does that mean? Shorter days, less time outside, less activities to do. Like, what are some activities, right? We're thinking less time to go outside and play.
Basketball.
Right, there's no basketball happening. There's no playing with friends. You might actually go out there and make a snowman. You might do that. You might have some snowball fights if there's good snow to make that with. But more often than not,
Until you get cold.
That's the problem. You get cold and then you're like, I'm done. And that's usually not that long, to be honest. And then there's just less daylight to work with. By the time you're done with school and dinner, there isn't a whole lot of time to be out there anyway.
So I have a question with the daylight.
Yeah.
So with daylight, and the fact that it's getting darker earlier, could there potentially be some mood swings there? I mean, given the fact that emotions in terms of how we feel, because sometimes at like 4, it's already feeling like it's 7:30, it's dinner time, and by the time it's 5 or 5:30, it feels like I should be in bed.
Yeah, and there's like
So-
all kinds of hours left until you are in bed.
Yeah, so how is
Yeah.
that really playing in with the shortness of day? And
Good question. Exactly. So, I mean, aside from having like an official diagnosis like a SAD disorder or something like that, which is seasonal affective disorder, even if it's not something that is on that level, you definitely could still have something that could be affecting you simply because the days are shorter with this very things you're talking about, it feeling like it's later than it really is. Also, some things that are naturally going on. There's a lack of vitamin D from the sun that's happening because you're just not outside, you're not absorbing it that way, and that could affect all kinds of things that we are not even aware of. So that could definitely be a
That's
factor.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks for bringing that up. So that is another layer of challenge that could affect anybody, but it doesn't help when you're talking about what's going on with your adoptive child, right? So what's another layer that's specifically to address what's going on with your child is that winter could mean more time inside, okay? Now, more time inside could then lead to
something like isolation.
something like
Isolation, which then leads to
isolation from
loneliness.
the friends because you're not interacting with them anymore. You're even if you're friends with your classmates, you're not seeing them because they're inside just like you're inside. They don't necessarily live next door to you either. So that's not really an after school activity that you're going to be involved in. Therefore, you're not seeing your friends. So there's that isolation. Now, you might be thinking, but there's like brothers and sisters inside that you can play with. Yes, that is true if they're there. If not, then it's independent playtime. And that independent playtime could be happening whether there's other kids around or not, because they could just have more time inside in general. So eventually they get tired of each other and they need to have their own space. They need to have their own time. And there's more of that when it's cold and you're inside longer.
Which means being inside means that you're on top of each other.
Yep.
And you might not necessarily like each other.
You
How
may
about
not.
that?
Yeah. Ever thought about that? Just because you're on top of each other and you're in each other's space doesn't mean you like each other, or it doesn't necessarily mean that you like the space and what's going on with it.
Right.
Right. So what is
I'm sorry.
no?
What could be causing this type of dynamic of, I mean, for some, we might think being close is a good thing. Being indoors for a longer period is a good thing. Having the day come in to an end earlier or having darkness.
Yeah, they might be like more restful. That's
Yeah.
that's the idea. That's the concept that could be
So
good.
how is this affecting the
So how is
child?
it? Well, that's a good question. So being indoors for your adopted child before they were living with you may not have necessarily been a good thing, because that means there's more time around the adults. And being around the adults may not have actually been a good thing, depending on what was going on with the adults
That
at
makes
that
sense.
time in their lives. So that can mean all kinds of things. But in general, for your adopted child, it may not be a good thing to be around in their world. It may not be a safe thing to have more time around adults in general. Okay, so in your mind, you might be thinking, oh, it's cute, we're cozy, we're all in the same space, and we're all cuddling up to watch a movie and so on like that. In your mind, it is. For them, that may not actually be the thing that is going to make them feel the best. So there's that layer to more indoor time. And then there is the more independent playtime that we were talking about before. Now, your child actually may not necessarily, right? Some kids aren't that great at it, but your child actually might be very good at their own independent time. They may be, very good at playing on their own. And the thing to consider is that just because they're good at it doesn't mean it's a good thing.
So why is this?
Why is it? Well, because that ability to play independently on their own, even though, like you said, we may be good at it, it may actually be a survival skill that they had to learn because maybe where they came from, it wasn't anyone there to really play with. No one was interested. It might have been a neglectful situation. They may not have had anybody who really wanted to play with them, so they had to do that to kind of keep themselves out of harm's way, to make sure they weren't getting in the way of the adults and whatever was going on in their world. Maybe the kids around them weren't the best, so they had to learn to play on their own instead of with the other kids. And that's not necessarily something that they wanted, but they had to do it. because it was necessary. So for your child, that may also lead to this sign that I got to take care of myself because I had to do it before, got to keep doing it.
Okay. So what I'm getting here is that even though the winter season might have good vibes or aspects about it for us as an adult, maybe for the child, they might be processing the whole thing a little differently.
Yep, exactly. The process for them coming through the filter of what they've experienced before they came to live with you is a totally different world for them. And they're not necessarily seeing things the way we are. And it's just something to be aware of because that can all be a buildup. It can be a buildup of pressure. And it can lead to a trigger and a snap that happens like that. And you may not, it may just literally come out of nowhere. You may not know what's going on. So winter, something to be aware of and to keep in mind.
Okay, so thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So my question now would be, so what's the challenge with summer?
Summer, exactly. What is the challenge with summer? You would think that the summer is a given of it being a happy time. Because why? There's no school anymore. The kids are out and they're playing. The days are longer. It's warmer. There's way more options in terms of things to do. Like, summer activities. There's the basketball that's now available outside, either in the park or, around the block. There's more kids to play with. Right? There's more options. There's more outdoor things to do. They may even have the opportunity to do something like a summer camp, which has all kinds of potential for fun and adventure and that kind of thing. There's outdoor games like tag and hide and go seek and all these different things that you do need to do outside, basically. So what would be the challenge with that, right? Good question. So all of those things are definitely there on the positive side. But at the same time, there are a few definite challenges that are specific to your adoptive child. We were talking about them playing with kids, right? It's the neighborhood kids. And the expectation, whether it's said or just, kind of a given, is that, oh no, there's kids outside. That means you're going to go out there, you're going to have a lot of playmates. So, go outside and have fun. Go play with them, whatever they're doing, you'll figure it out, you'll all get along, and you'll all have a good time, right? But that's not necessarily a given. Because one, these aren't necessarily their classmates. These aren't necessarily their kids that are.
That is actually true.
Exactly, right?
Because you have things like cousins, maybe, that are visiting.
You have cousins coming around
you have
that
friends
are not
that
normally
might
around.
be visiting from afar, that might be visiting the neighborhood, visiting for a couple of weeks, maybe the entire summer.
Yep.
So your friends are your friends, but their friends are their cousins. You don't know them as yet.
Like the child doesn't know them as yet.
Correct.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
So this is like family. This is like relationship or group dynamics, right? How does that work?
Yeah. So like every time you have a group and then you add a member or take a member away, the whole way that the group works kind of resets. So even if this isn't your child's first summer with you, if it's towards the beginning, these kids in the neighborhood, these children that they are expected to just get along with, they're essentially strangers to them still. And, the kids that are there, they have probably known each other a lot longer than they've known your child. And therefore, they are not going to have the same kind of, getting to know you process that they need to go through that your child does. They may not know how to navigate or to figure out how to connect with these kids because they may not be the same age. They may not be in the same school. They may not be at the same level of growth and development that your child is. So there's actually a lot of differences that could be there.
That is right.
And your child may be able to adapt really quickly. And there's a very real possibility that they don't know how to do that too well or that quickly. Yeah. The expectation that that's the way it's supposed to be and that it's just going to happen may not actually be a realistic one for your child. Okay?
So could you touch on this for a second?
Sure.
How about supervision or maybe the lack of supervision?
Right.
I mean, and I'm thinking you have during the school year that there is a constant amount of supervision. You have parental supervision at home. from the time the child gets to school. There's some type of supervision. There's teachers. There's guidance counselors. There's a principal. In some cases,
aides.
there are aides. There's security.
Yep.
There's
You're
a
right.
gym teacher. There's just so much stuff and so much adults around
Yep.
that there's an amount of guidance that is being provided
Okay.
throughout the school year. So my question is,
What's the question?
come summertime, there's a drop off. And so it's not necessarily to say that, or I'm not saying that maybe parents dropped off. Just the entire system and the structure that was in place before
It's just not
is
there.
no longer there.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And so that that decrease in just the amount of eyes that are available to watch what's going on with your child and all the children that they're around is just simply not there anymore. The structure for the system in terms of the school system and the extracurricular activities that are happening around the school year is just not there. So that is a good point. And what that means for your adoptive child is that they may be left to depend on, once again, a set of adults that are now strangers to them, that they don't know, and that these people are supposed to be the ones that are looking out and protecting them, perhaps, about what could potentially be going on. And there's just not as many of them, and they don't know them, and these adults may not know your child either. So that's a good point. So that is a potential challenge with the summer, because your child has no way of knowing what to do in a situation where these people are strangers to them.
Right.
And then on top of that, that decrease in supervision, it could also be a reminder about what happened once again before your child was living with you.
Potentially.
Potentially.
A lack of protection.
Well, a lack of protection, a lack of supervision again, and just a lack of kind of knowing what is going on with the child. If the adult is not familiar with your child, they may not know when something's going wrong, when something is missing, when your child doesn't feel comfortable and they need like a potential a break or a bailout or something. They don't know. And if you're not there, and you're not always going to be there, then they could be exposed to a lot of things that remind them of other stuff. There is a potential, if your child has had some kind of trauma in their past, that it happened around a time where there wasn't a lot of supervision. And that could have easily been the summer. It could easily be a season like the summer. And so when that time comes along, there could be a buildup of anticipation of, wait, this may be another unsafe stretch of time for me now, because something not so great happened the last time this time of year came along. And not to say anything's going to happen, but it can remind them of what already did happen.
That makes sense.
Right, exactly. So the idea is that all those things are building up that pressure for that trigger. And that is a definite challenge for the summer.
So now that we've talked about these two seasons and the challenges that they come with, my question, I guess, would be, what are some strategies or some things that we can put in place or utilize to, make it better, safer,
Exactly.
or to be able to cope with these extreme seasons?
Exactly. Being able to get along.
Exactly.
Well, that's the idea about, this first talk that we're talking about, because it is about predicting, preparing, and preventing as much as possible these triggers from even being a factor in terms of what's going on. So there's two strategies that come to mind right away. Okay? Strategy number one is to get curious and ask questions. Do you know what I mean by that?
No, but you're going to tell me. Get curious.
Yes, and ask questions. That's all together.
Questions. So I'm thinking,
you want to guess?
Trying to get to know your child.
It's all part of that process. So
get out the magnifying glass.
Exactly. Become that detective.
Detective time.
Exactly. So what that means is that you're gonna, in a natural way, right, ask questions about what was that time of year like for your child before they lived with you. What was it like around the winter? What did they do? Who did they do it with? What was it like? Was it good, bad, or anything in between? Let them tell you what it is in their own way, and then really ask follow-up questions if you're not clear about what's going on, and make that into a way to really interact and to ask that conversation and to have that conversation, because it's necessary. And maybe everything was good and they're not able to tell you, but there's a very real possibility that there may not all be good things that happen during either one of those seasons.
Okay.
So ask the questions, and definitely make sure that if you don't get the right answers the first time, have that conversation again. Nothing wrong with that.
Okay, so I get it. What you're saying is that at this particular point, we want to get curious. Getting curious, asking question. Getting curious meaning trying to get to know our child differently, trying to get to know our child one-on-one, intimately.
Yeah.
Face to face, just being in their space and getting comfortable with each other.
Yeah, all that is part of the conversation.
So I get that part.
Yeah.
So now what would be another way?
Right, so that's the first strategy, right?
Right, so that was the first strategy.
Yep.
What would be another?
So the second one that you can put in place right away goes along with the first one, because once you get that information, now you can do something with it.
Okay.
What you do with it is that you are intentional. Be intentional about using that information to do exactly what we talked about. Predict that these things are going to happen around this time of the year. Prepare for them as much as you can. And if you are kind of at a loss, maybe get some advice, get some help, talk to somebody about it. But prepare as much as possible, and then put whatever in place that you can to prevent these things from becoming a factor and building up in the first place. We can't prevent everything, but what you can prevent, do something about it. Be intentional. It doesn't have to be everything, but even if it's just one thing, you would be shocked about how much of a difference it makes.
Okay.
Just one thing can really make a difference. In the summer, give them permission to say, you know what? I need to go inside. I don't need to be outside all day. It doesn't have to be the same for every kid. For the winter, it can mean, you know what? Maybe we don't have to have, you don't have to be here in movie night every, Friday that you guys have it.
Maybe we don't have to have 8 friends over.
You don't have to have 8 friends over. Exactly. If you don't want them to. I mean, that doesn't happen all the time anyway. But you know what? Maybe that's your idea, but it's not a good idea for your child. Or you know what? Instead of playing by themselves, let's have some time where you're playing with them. You as the parent playing with them can make a very big difference, because then they really wouldn't feel lonely, even though they are having some time away from their siblings or the neighborhood kids or other adults that they may not feel safe around yet. So these are the things that you can do right away to address these things and to keep these things from building up as a trigger and then leading to an explosion. Okay?
So recapping what I received, you just talked about being curious and asking questions. And then you follow that up with saying, be intentional about addressing the things that come up during our conversation as parent-child.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Simple, but when they're done consistently, it makes such a difference. So that is the end of our chat for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the cup of coffee or tea or whatever was in that cup while you were drinking it. And we will see you at the next Adoption Chat Corner. In the meantime, take care.
Bye for now.
Bye now. So if you found the information in this video helpful, and you found yourself saying to yourself, you know what, this sounds like me, and this is something that really, applies to my world, then that's a good thing, and you are in the right place. My name is Aiyana Brotherson, and I have been helping adoptive parents just like you feel more confident in their parenting, take better control of what's going on with their child, and to understand what's going on with them, have less tantrums, less outbursts, and have a more peaceful home every day. So be sure to like, comment below, and follow me so that we can keep content like this coming for you on a regular basis. And if you want more information, make sure to click the link in my bio and I'll make sure to get it to you. In the meantime, take care, and I will see you in the next video.